And we are live. Thank you for tuning in to Learn and Laugh Out Loud, episode 27, where we try to have some fun and also talk to our guests and learn something about them. So today, I'm really excited about my guest because a few years ago, I went to this networking event and I was thinking, hey, it's a networking event, right? And what ended up happening is when I went to that event, it was a huge party. Everybody was having fun. There was loud music. I was like, whoa, what kind of event is this? And from that point onwards, every event that I went to organized by my guest was better than the one before. So I think most of you know who I'm talking about. Let me do the big reveal and bring her in. Here she is. Hey, Melody.
Hi, Samir. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So good to see you. It seems like it's been ages that I've seen you.
It has. I think it was outside of Peter's Inn on Ann Street is the last memory that I have of you. And that was actually an after party. So you and I usually have fun at that after the events are over.
Was that the after party of the event where you had brought in drag queens?
It wasn't that one.
It wasn't.
But if you were at the drag queen event, I'm sure that you were at the after party because that one was at Sugar Vale in Mount Vernon. But no, this was after our end of year celebrates the season event where we donate our check to living classrooms. I just remember standing outside of the restaurant with you, and that was one of the last times. And I think you gave me a funny name in your phone, even.
Yes, untouchable goddess. There you go. I revealed it. So yeah. So there you go. As I was talking at one of the events with Melody, and there were drag queens. There was a huge party, and people were networking, having fun. But I want to get into all of that and some of the other really cool stuff Melody is doing. But I wanted Melody to actually, firstly, introduce yourself to the audience. Anyone who's listening in, seeing you, tell them who you are.
Well, thank you for having me. This is fantastic that you're doing this, and I'm really proud to know you and be part of this. So I will start with saying that. My name is Melody Barron. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and my full-time job, I work as a project manager and communications strategist at Booz Allen Hamilton. And by night, I am host of LinkedIn Local Baltimore. I also serve as a co-chair on the board at Living Classrooms for the Associate Leadership Council.
I love the way you say it. By night, it's like you were like a superhero or a superheroine, right? By night, I wear my cape and all of that. So,
Yeah. By day, I keep it PC. By night, I let the F bombs fly.
hey, I can vouch for that. I can vouch for that. But listen, so good to have you. Thank you for taking time out. And today's pretty special because you also have your LinkedIn local event tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So for those who don't know about LinkedIn Local, it is a worldwide movement. It was started 4 years ago in the month of June in Coffs Harbour, Australia, by a woman named Anna McAfee. And she simply hosted a meetup with her LinkedIn connections at a coffee shop. And she used the hashtag LinkedIn Local. And that first meeting sparked a worldwide movement, and now over 800 cities spanning every continent, and I believe over 100 countries have LinkedIn Local chapters. So tonight is our 4-year anniversary and celebration of the start of LinkedIn Local. And in Baltimore, of course, we don't disappoint. We party, we get down, and it's a Baltimore themed party. So tonight we have a paint night set up, and our attendees could select their canvas. They could paint Natty Bow, or they could paint Mrs. Utz Girl, two very iconic symbols from Baltimore. We've got a live DJ playing house music. We've got an oyster shucker. We've got a slideshow from Pixelated, a local company showing pictures from throughout the years. Our venue, Charm City Meadworks, is a local mead brewery. So we've got lawn games and just tons of stuff for everybody to kind of mill around and just find something that they're into within the 3-hour event, get to know each other, create community, and fundraise at the same time.
Yeah. Thanks for rubbing that in and making me feel bad for not getting the ticket earlier. Next time I'll make sure that I'll get the ticket. But this is awesome. This is exactly what I was talking about. DJ and all these activities and LinkedIn local Baltimore. I want to talk about this. As you mentioned, the history of how this whole movement started worldwide. And I have been to some other LinkedIn events in other states also. Uh, so they're nothing like how you do it. Okay, let me first say that. Secondly, with how you started these events and now they have like become a thing of their own. I wanted to understand a little bit of your philosophy in organizing these events and how they are, because they're a lot of fun. I've never felt that it's a networking event. As I said before, as you said, it's like an awesome party. How did you come up with this idea that, what, let's do this and see what happens?
So, if you ask my husband, he would say that I'm a genius because I throw a party for myself every month. And I have a bunch of companies who are just willing to come and participate. And I've figured out the formula there. But on the more serious side, I've done a lot of networking. So prior to my career as a consultant at Booz Allen, a large part of what I did was sales driven, right? So I had to attend a lot of networking events. And when I moved to Baltimore in 2012, that's how I got to know people. That's how I sort of met my professional posse. And I learned a lot about networking events and what they looked like at that time. And with something like LinkedIn Local, who is the whole premise behind it is to meet the person behind the profile, to get out of the digital world. And for me to actually get to know Sumer, not get to know what you do every day, 9 to 5, or how you're going to benefit me in my 9 to 5. So me being able to share my own philosophy of being able to have fun, because when I went to a networking event, I never changed who I was. And I was silly, or I was somewhat maybe vulgar, or maybe, I would enjoy a cocktail while I was there. I didn't just come in a suit and exchange a business card and think that, things were going to happen for me that way. So really creating an environment where people feel comfortable, I think, is key to having successful networking events. Now, not every networking event needs to have drag queens and DJs. Some of them do, though. And you know what? That's going to make for an interesting experience for someone who hasn't been there before. And maybe they will want to come back and maybe they won't. But the coolest thing about the formula that I think that I have been able to create with my volunteers is that it's always different. We have never duplicated an event. We've never duplicated a venue. And we use several different local vendors who want to participate. And that's what really gives it that extra flair. So why can't you have fun and network at the same time and be yourself? And you should be able to party and get business done. Just like they say, a lot of business gets done on the golf course. A lot of business gets done in a bar too.
Party and get business done. I love that, and I can vouch for that because with the events that you hold, they're always different, but they're always fun. So on the dot. And we have not a question, but someone who's tuned in, Jane Daniel. Thank you for tuning in, Jane Daniel, and she's saying woohoo. So woohoo back to you, Jane.
Ask her if she has laughed yet, because when she read your flyer, she said, "Melody, you better make me laugh." So she can let us know how we're doing so far. Jane is one of my volunteers.
Oh, okay. I hope she's laughing because we are having a lot of fun, and with this, whole philosophy of throwing a party, ensuring that people have a good time, and the possibility of people doing business increases makes perfect sense. You have to be brave though to pull something off what you do, Melody, because we all talk a lot about this kind of stuff, but very few of us actually take that step that you have taken. I wanted to actually build further on this LinkedIn Local Baltimore. And, offline, we talked about, you know, being online for more than a year. There's a lot of social anxiety amongst people, in terms of going back to, live events, thinking that we have forgotten how to act in social events. I mean, you said something very interesting about that. I wanted you to share those thoughts again, if you can.
I think it's a very real thing. Okay. If we're going to start by just involving the conversation of anxiety when attending a networking event without the pandemic involved. So I think a lot of people have trepidation when they go because they don't know someone. It's just like any sort of social event. It's like sitting at a new lunch table, in school. If you don't know people, or you don't really know what you're getting into, or it's sort of your first time or a new job or whatever the case may be, that's one level of anxiety. So the other level is this social anxiety, I think, that is very real right now, that people are experiencing because we've been sheltered for like a year and a half, so to speak. So coming back out into the world again, no matter how much of an extrovert you think you are, which most would think that I am, right? I have I have had social anxiety.
Right.
Whether it's a group of like 8 to 10 people, or I'm meeting like one of my coworkers for dinner for the first time and I haven't seen her in over a year, how you're acting in public, it is a strange thing right now. I do think that it will go away, it will subside, but I don't want people to think that they're not normal for feeling something like that, because even I feel it.
Sure.
I have first date jitters about tonight. I do.
That says a lot.
I've
Because
got butterflies in my
you're a
stomach.
boss in your events. I've seen you in action, so that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean it is real. I haven't done this. I mean, event production is a huge undertaking, and I haven't not only been in front of an audience, but I haven't been in front of 50 people yet. That's for sure. I mean, unless I'm out walking around in Fells Point, those people, you know what I mean? But situated and structured for a ticketed event, this will be my first time since February 2020, and that's a long time.
Sure.
So I'm not scared. I am very excited for tonight. But I don't think that I'm the only one. And I think that there are other people in that position, and it's okay because we're going to do it together. And that's the best part about it is, if you take a break when you need to, take a smoke break, go to the bathroom, take a little walk if you want, that's all right, and come back. And it also helps to talk about it. And that's okay too.
Very cool. So, I mean, you actually given me some food for thought in terms of event management, and also want to talk about Project Serve, which is very important to a lot of people, and especially it's happening in Baltimore. But before all of that, I wanted to actually throw a look at you when you're smiling when you heard me say before all that. I wanted to throw a curveball at you and see how you react. So I wanted to ask you like a silly question. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So, and I've been waiting to ask you this question because I think I'll get a very interesting response. So, so Melody, if you ever met Kim Kardashian, what would you say to her?
Can I touch your ass?
And I do not doubt for a second that if that happens, you'll probably say that to her.
Absolutely. You only get that opportunity once. I mean, and I don't think that that's pushing the boundaries, because I am asking for permission first. So
Good point.
there's that. I'd probably also ask her, something makeup related on a more, after that. If she says no to me touching her ass, then I would ask her about her skincare routine.
Wow, that's a bold question. I love that. Thank you for being so open about it. Um, and then interestingly, what you just talked about, yeah, Melody, about social anxiety, someone actually commented. I cannot read their name from the feed, uh, but what it says is, I was a greeter at a church last week, and it felt weird to know whether to shake hands, not to shake hands, etc. So social anxiety is a real thing.
Yeah, I feel weird too about it. And I think whether you're vaccinated or not, I think there are just certain boundaries right now. And you know what? It's totally okay to say, you know what, and just hand an elbow.
Right,
There,
right.
there are actors that have been, germaphobes for years, and that's been their main go-to has been the elbow. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, before the pandemic, LinkedIn Local, we always said we do hugs, not handshakes. But really, you do whatever you're comfortable with and you set your own boundaries. But I totally understand what that person is saying, because I've been in the position where somebody sticks it out and you're like, oh, I don't want to be rude. What do I do? Just do you, and nobody's going to care.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm loving it. Now, I wanted to, with your LinkedIn Local Baltimore, I want to say Baltimore again and again because I love Baltimore. It's so networking event and throwing a party, people having a good time. That's one thing. But also, you guys are able to do a lot of good things for the community. You work with living classrooms. It's phenomenal. And I wanted you to share some of the details of, I think, Project Serve or anything else you want to share.
So 100% of our ticket sales are donated. This organization, we don't capitalize on any of this. Over the last 4 years, we have been able to donate over $50,000 through our ticket sales to our events. So when this started, my first co-host in 2018 was Joe Zumbo. So I do have to give him a shout. He was a big part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's wonderful, and he helped me get the organization off the ground. And he and I were both involved with living classrooms. So when we started this, part of the guidelines of hosting LinkedIn Local was that you don't cash in on it. Now, in 800 cities, do I think somebody is not cashing in? No, I think probably people are making money somewhere, but we are not. I feel very proud that we have that opportunity to have this organization and be able to give back through these events. So you can party, you can create community, and you can give back to your community. So Living Classrooms serves underprivileged youth and adults with hands-on job training and education programming. They've they have tons of different programs, and every year we allocate our funds to a different program that they provide. So this year, all of our funds will be donated to Project Serve. And Project Serve supports those who were previously incarcerated with reentry programming. So they will help to provide marketable skills. They will help to provide job training, really individuals that are adjusting and returning to the community after having an unfortunate circumstance of incarceration. That's what they do for this particular program with Living Classrooms, and that's where all of our funding for 2021 will be donated to.
That's phenomenal. I'm deeply touched. Living classrooms, the kind of work they do, and how you are able to help them, and also Project Serve. We tend to forget. If you are someone who hasn't done anything or nothing really serious has happened in your life, and you go out of the job market for 1 year and try getting back in, it is so difficult. So imagine the people that you're trying to help. It's a phenomenal thing. And anyone who is listening in, go check out Living Classroom. Go check out Project Serve. There's help available. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's going to be very easy, but hey, I would take any kind of help that comes my way. So I wanted to thank you for that, Melody.
Yeah, it's there's a somewhat personal tie too. You may know John Huffington through our events. He was incarcerated and wrongly accused of a crime for 30 years in
Yes, yes.
prison. And if it wasn't for programming like this, he wouldn't have been able to get back on his feet. And if you think about someone who was incarcerated for that length of time, it's not like when they get off the bus, they've got money and a cell phone in their pocket to call somebody. They didn't even have a cell phone when they went in. So those types of things for people, regardless of a mistake or a not, whatever their history was, if they want to do better and they want to make a change in their life, living classrooms can provide that opportunity for them.
Perfect, Melody. This is so weird, with you. I'm always like thinking, okay, because Melody is loud. She loves to throw a great party. And then you end up talking about this serious stuff. So I'm like, okay, what's happening here? So that's pretty awesome. Hey, but listen, also, we have Chris Jarvis who just tuned in and he wrote something I wanted to read out loud. Fantastic. I believe in supporting our returning citizens. Very cool.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah, thank you, Chris. We think you are very cool by commenting on this show. I wanted to now also. We have a few more minutes left. I wanted to talk about the future of LinkedIn Local Baltimore, and also Baltimore. I've gotten to know Baltimore. It's a phenomenal city. There's so many good things about it. So if you can just share a few things about the future of LinkedIn Local Baltimore, and anything good you want to mention about Baltimore, because I want people to know more about the cool things in Baltimore, and who else to talk about it than Melody, right?
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate you saying how much you love the city. And I think that we need more people to say things like that, especially our own citizens that live here. Um, in a metropolitan area, there is always going to be some level of struggle. That is a constant. That is never going to change. But they don't call us Charm City for nothing. We
Yes,
are
Charm City.
charming.
Yeah.
We have history here. We are surrounded, we are on the water. We have beautiful landscapes and historic neighborhoods. We have a lot of heart. And I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from Philadelphia. And when I moved here in 2012, over the course of a few years, I explored the city and it really did become a wonderful place for me. Between the restaurants and my local watering holes, to the people that I would meet, and local recreational sports or social clubs, or even music. I mean, there's a ton of music, to find. And there were, a lot of, some of those days are behind me, but I was clubbing a lot, and there were really cool spots that you could
No,
find.
they're not. Now you get those kicks by hosting your events, right?
Yeah. So I think that, you know, besides having seafood, right? Or people may think that when they think like, okay, that's what I'm going to Baltimore for, or I'm going to go to Baltimore to see the Inner Harbor. Do your research before you come here. Look up all of this different stuff. Call Sumer, call me. If you're on LinkedIn, there's no reason to say, hey, what's the coolest place, or what should I do when I'm there? Besides sports and things like that. But as far as the future of our organization, I will say the pandemic made us rethink everything. So I was in autopilot hosting a monthly event for 3 years, and I knew how to do that. Now I have to go back and use a part of my brain that maybe I wasn't using for event production to design events that are now safe, appropriate, capacity limits, thinking about activities, or thinking about other ways to fundraise, because asking people for money right now is not the easiest thing to do. A lot of people are still getting back on their feet from going through a year and a half of job loss and all of the stress that our businesses went through. So we have some really cool stuff lined up. I will say tonight, this is the first time that we're doing a seated painting activity. We've never done something like that before. We don't really have a guest speaker. We just have an artist that's coming and really showing us how to paint together. We've got some other things cooking up. Maybe we've got some wine tastings. Maybe we've got some golf tournaments. Maybe we've got some private dinners. So we're really trying to think outside the box and give everybody a unique experience while being able to give back to the community and make it great.
Yeah. So I guess your clubbing days have become more sophisticated now with the big dash of fundraising and giving back to the community. And I just wanted to add something to what you talked about in terms of Baltimore. You know, Baltimore is, once you get to know the town, it's there's so much to it. I would just visit the city for the architecture alone. Some beautiful buildings in Baltimore. And here's an interesting fact, which I actually learned from someone who was visiting Baltimore, and they told me that Light Street was the first street in the United States where they had electric lights, and that's why it's called Light Street. I did not know that. I was like, wow. So Baltimore has a lot to offer. If you want to visit, check us out. It's an amazing, amazing city. We are about very close to ending the show, and I just have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. And this is very important also because, Melody, there's so many young people or younger people, because, I don't want to feel very old. I don't want to make you feel old. There are a lot of, younger people looking to juggle between work, life, doing some extra things. What would you say to them? How do you pull all this off with a full-time job and all of that? How do you do it? What's the secret recipe?
There isn't one. There
Okay.
isn't one. Sometimes I just do shit, Sumer, and I don't think about it. um, I, you know, I I really like to try and see and do and experience a new challenge,
Mhm.
and I don't ever want to be bored. So for me, fine tuning my work life balance is a struggle, probably. And I will say that none of these people that come to my events live with me. So you don't know what it's like behind closed doors if I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
So it's not like the perfect picture and everything. But I have heard that before. I have heard people ask me, how do you do so much? And I think some people, our bodies are all made differently, and you have a capacity to take on as much as you are physically capable of. And my capacity happens to hold what it has in it right now. Not everybody needs to work that way. I will say, over the last year and a half, I have felt a huge urge to dial back.
Sure.
So I think that's natural after what we all went through. um, I find the time to do the things that I want to do. So there isn't anything that I don't want to do that I'm working on. And when I don't want to do it anymore, you'll know, because I'll stop doing it.
Wow, very profound. And just to build on that, anyone who is watching this or interested in holding events, what are the top three tips you would want to give someone when they want to hold events? What are the top three things which you have learned are critical to holding successful events?
Be kind and respectful. Number one, when you are the face of an event, don't burn bridges. Be kind and respectful. Be careful with your words, because you're dealing
Beautiful.
with so many people. You never know who you're going to meet, the relationships that you need, the relationships that you don't need. Um, don't take yourself too seriously. That would be number two. I have learned that being myself and being able to insert myself and my own style into my events has been my greatest success. So I don't try to force anything. Um, and if I had a third, I would say alcohol. um, I don't. I don't really attend a morning event. I'm not really a coffee and fruit and muffin kind of networker. Um, I prefer a glass of wine and a really well lit room. Maybe that one's a little silly, and that's just a personal preference. But yeah, I think for events, it can run the gamut, and really, know your crowd, know who you're catering to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you on the alcohol part. It actually sometimes helps being kind to someone you don't want to be kind with. So, so maybe that's the takeaway
Yeah.
from this.
Maybe the morning BNIs can start having like Bailey's and Kahlua at the coffee bar. Maybe we can get that trend going.
If that happens, I'm joining all the BNI. So, lastly, and this is a question I ask everyone who's on this show. So, I'm going to ask you, and here it goes. If heaven exists and when you arrive at the pearly gates, what do you want God to say to you?
Well, I just read this quote, so this falls in line perfectly. Um, and I'll read the quote. It might not be what God says, but it works. It works really well. And this was
Sure.
at Topside in their menu. I flipped open their menu and I saw this. And it's a quote by Atticus. I hope to arrive at death late, in love, and a little drunk. So when God sees me, he's probably going to say, "You're late. I know you're in love and you're a little drunk, girl. Come on in."
Come on in. I like that. Very cool. Very cool. So the LinkedIn local Baltimore event is happening tonight. If you have tuned in and if you have heard us talk, I'm sorry it's too late. You cannot go to this event. The tickets are sold out. But any parting words you want to share before we call it a wrap, Melody?
I just want to say thank you. It's really good to see your face. I can't wait to see you in person and give you a
I know,
hug.
me too.
Yeah, this is wonderful. And anybody that wants to reach out and learn more about LinkedIn Local, I am always willing to chat and talk more. And let's just keep fighting the good fight and supporting each other and spreading the love. That's all.
Yes, let's keep fighting the good fight. LinkedIn local Baltimore. I mean, it's not hard to find. Just Google it, you'll find it, and make sure you go to one of the events. Trust me, I'm willing to put money on this. You have never been to a networking event like this, and hopefully, I'll make it to the next one and see you in person. Thank you so much, Melody, and hopefully, I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
bye bye.